in before stream starting soon. I saw that after I clicked live. So guess who's late? Guess who's gonna phone me on Skype? I'm gonna have to bloody fix the camera ad hoc. And I'm actually trying to figure out how to turn the sound down for the music coming in when he does call. Are you a bit late? You are not late, sir. You were 7 hours early. We'll start as soon as James gets here. And if anyone knows how to turn the fucking call volume down, so when he calls it's not mental, that would be great. What's happening, Liam? We are close to starting. We are just waiting for a certain tongue, a certain Loftus. What's happening, Elliot? Starting so soon, so soon, so soon. Oh, he's a little shit, man. Mystic here. Oh, congratulations on 139 Aqua. That's so good. Mystic, how you doing? Glad you caught a live show. Glad to see it. Glad to see everyone here already. Might just go. Might just let him phone in.
Mate, I'm so sorry. I thought it was half past.
Oh no.
Are you live?
I'm a little bit live. Just a little bit.
You haven't exposed yourself to the viewers yet.
The stream is starting soon, it says.
Oh God.
Was it
Thank
supposed to
God
have
I made
passed?
it.
Did I?
I don't know. No. You tweeted 7 for some. I don't know why I had it in my head that it was.
You even asked to go 7.
I know. It's
cool.
weird because when you tweeted, I was like, "Oh, I guess it is 7:30," and obviously he didn't get the memo that I wanted it to be 7.
Amazing. That's so
I'm
good.
such an idiot.
Don't worry about it.
But hey, you know what? I'm here and I've made it.
And we're earlier than usual.
We are, exactly. I'm kind of prepared as well.
Are you actually? Oh yeah, because you did your thing this morning.
No, I didn't end up doing that in the end. But just by osmosis, I feel like I've learned quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, fair play. That makes sense. I'm ready to go when you are. You just let me know when you got your shit ready.
Yeah. I'm ready. Let me just go and get a tin. Maybe I should plug my mic in as well.
Oh, it might be too late. You already have your Skype going.
Oh, okay.
Worth wildcard if you're not happy with your defense but happy with attack playing for at the back. Oh, I don't know. We need to see your team, my man. We need to see. To be fair, I wildcard and I thought I only had 4 people to take out. It turns out I have 10 players I'm taking out. So yeah, there we go.
Okay,
hey, beautiful. I'm ready. You ready? All right, ready to go.
Let's go.
Right.
God, how unprofessional.
I love it. I think it's great. We're going to start on your team if that's cool.
My team, okay.
Yeah. Start off with a good thing. Start off with the best.
We'll go down now.
All right, and I've tweeted. We tweeted? Yeah, we did.
Yeah, no, I'll just retweet at this point.
FPL. What is happening, FPL managers? This is Fire and Blanks. It is gonna be a good stream because we have wildcarded. Well, I've wildcarded. James, you haven't wildcarded, right?
I'm not wildcarding, no, because my team's doing really well.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. If you've been working, your boss getting you down, don't worry about it. FPL chat, wildcard, games, game week 3, fixtures, all that awesome stuff. How is everyone doing in the chat? Thank you very much for being here. If you are live, if you are listening on Fire and Blanks podcast, hiya. You can't see what I'm doing to James, which is hilarious. Oh, this way. I was trying to give you the Vicky. I gave the wall the Vicky.
What's a Vicky?
Oh, really? Is that not a thing? Like 2 fingers?
Well, I've seen that. I've seen that symbol before, but I've never heard it referred to as a Vicky.
All right, it means F off, is what it means.
Yeah, I know what it means.
All right, okay, cool.
Sorry, yeah, I think it's a Scottish thing. Vicky, why Vicky? What? 'Cause it looks like a V.
I don't know. I guess so. I mean, you've sussed it already. I don't know. I've never thought about it. It's just a Scottish word, I guess. I didn't realise.
Interesting. Classic.
Interesting. How was your game week? So, actually, you know what? Before you say that, I know I could see your face. You're immediately in there with a very well, thank you. Before we do that, I'm just going to lay what we're talking about for this hour. We've got our journey so far, how we're doing in the season, our strategies that we're going to be trying to implement for the rest of the season as per good game weeks, bad weeks go, and then I'm going to reveal my wild card. And before that, I think maybe or after, I'm not sure. We'll see. We're going to look at our put your money where your mouth is team, which is doing really well.
Oh, honestly, that's doing better than both of us, man.
It's good. It's so good.
Yeah.
I can't wait. So yeah, in the chat, Aqua has asked, how was your holiday? James, where were you off?
Oh, thanks for asking, man. Yeah, it was good. I went to Crete, which, for anyone who doesn't know, was added to the quarantine list about 3 days before we left. So I'm now 4 days into quarantining, which is basically like my normal life, only other people are doing my food shops now. So it's really worked out quite well. I'm having a lovely time. But the holiday was great. Lots of drink, lots of food. And to top it all off, I had 2 pretty good FPL game weeks kind of either side of the holiday. Right, I had to throw it in there, Dave. Had to bring it back to fantasy football.
You don't deserve it. Who goes on holiday and then comes back to a decent game week? It feels raw. It feels icky. It feels like you have too much good going on. I feel like someone is going to get hurt in your family or something really soon.
It could happen. Heck, but you know what? I take that for consistent game weeks. Yeah. You know what, though? You look at my team, you've got it up here.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't want to be this guy, but I think I was quite unlucky. because
you accidentally forgot to take Son out. Don't bullshit me. You weren't going to leave it. You weren't going to leave it.
Dave, I was so prepared to leave Son in. I brought Son in for the first 3 fixtures, and Son remained in there very intentionally. However, look at Lamptey. Lamptey is the one, right? He got an assist, 1 point in. He gets subbed off on 58 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I looked at that Brighton score versus Newcastle, 3-0. Saw that Lamptey got the assist and did not bother to check the substitution. I assumed that Lamptey would not only get the clean sheet points, but would probably also get 3 bonus points as well. Plus, obviously, another point for staying on the pitch for 60 minutes. I was effectively robbed of 8 points there. You can imagine my disappointment when I looked onto my team and saw just 73 points. I thought, God, this is, yeah. So, actually, I think what woe is me. St. Maximin also injured. Greenwood only came on for a bit. I was robbed.
I don't know if you were robbed, because all those points that you were robbed of, you more than made up for it for the fact that Hasenhüttl just is the most stubborn person I've ever seen manage a team. Just refused to stop goals going in 4 times in a row. You do not deserve 24 points at all, and I feel so annoyed about it that I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's just not deserved.
What a player! How do you feel about Aubameyang's performance, Dave? A little bit disappointing first 2 game weeks, right?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much. That's kind of what Aubameyang does. He'll trickle in points throughout the season. He'll get a wee brace every now and again. He's basically an expensive Jimenez. The only difference is that Aubameyang plays for a slightly better, more attacking team. But that looks to be changing. Wolves are shifting. Their defensive numbers are down. Their attacking numbers are up. So, yeah, Aubameyang was an easy captain. I wasn't going to change it. I'm glad that you didn't change it. Who would you have went with? if you weren't going to do that? I guess Son.
So,
Yeah.
Son. No. It would have been Salah, obviously my vice captain. So I would have gone Salah. So I was happy with that. But obviously, it's always difficult to be happy with your captain when one of your midfielders scores 4 goals. But there we go.
192,000th overall. You are where I finished off last season. How'd you like that?
I'm really happy with. You know what? There's no point in focusing too much on rank at this point in the season. Obviously, a bad game week would completely change my rank. Equally, a really good game week would propel me into the upper echelons of 5-figured bliss. So I don't put too much stock into my rank at this point. What I would say is that it's quite nice to think that I can basically just stick to the template and probably be all right.
It's crazy because the template that I'm looking at right now on Wildcard is wildly different than the template of game week 1 and 2. So it's almost like two templates have kind of emerged with completely viable players. There's never been this amount of like variety in who we want to go for. I've never had a wildcard draft that is completely different to my second wildcard draft, and I just do not know who to go for. And there's maybe 6 different players in it. It's very, very, very cool. I'm very.
There's a huge, you're absolutely right. There's a huge number of players to go for. And I think what's really interesting, and actually we'll probably come to this when we get to our Money Where Your Mouth Is team, but the fact that players like Zaha, who have scored 3 goals already this season, have looked phenomenal, aren't being talked about by the FPL community.
Yeah.
You know, these are there are loads of players being talked about by the FPL community. There are loads more who are still performing really well, who just aren't being talked about by the FPL community. So cumulatively, I think this is what happens when game week 2 has the highest number of goals in any Premier League weekend. I think you do get a lot of big point scorers.
And at the same time, it makes us completely overlook certain teams. Like no one who has their wild card have still got a Man United player. We're overlooking Chelsea a little bit. I know loads of people taking Werner out. I don't know how he hasn't dropped yet. We'll go to my team just now. I really want to get to my wild card because I need your help.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
so we'll just quickly go over. I'm 590,000th in the world. I've had 2 above average game weeks, and that's kind of what we're going for. Ramsdale doing my nut in. Bellerin, I wasn't expecting 2 clean sheets, so I'm happy with his contributions. Martial came in, like you said on Fantasy Weekly, XG of 0. Just nothing. So that was
0.01. 0.01.
Oh, sorry.
Let's not forget.
Sorry. Did he have a touch in the box? My bad. And I took Richarlison in for Ings. I just had a hunch that Richarlison was going to do good. And you think you were robbed. He actually should have scored, and then Mr. I'm going to score from everything but my feet stole the goal. DCL stole it, which is a very annoying. But I'm happy with Richarlison anyway. It was a good hunch. The problem was that he didn't score. He didn't get as much bonus, and then also Ings scored twice because he's on penalties. I just wasn't expecting Ings to score a brace.
He's a great player, isn't he, Ings? I think I was quite surprised to see you taking him out, but at least you took him out for a player who scored equally as well. I think actually that front line, with Martial as the exception, is great. I mean, on any other game week, you know, your 2 relatively budget forwards both getting 12 points each would be a huge success. It just so happened that loads of other forwards also scored a huge number of points.
Exactly. Mitrovic scoring 2 goals in the early kickoff was so good, and then, you know, it kind of trickled out. So yeah, the rest of my team, I have pretty much no one from this squad in my wild card. So Alexander-Arnold's gone, Bellerin's gone, Robertson's there, Justin's gone, Salah's there, Aubameyang, St. Max.
Did you say Trent's gone?
Trent's gone, mate. Martial, Mitrovic, they're all gone.
Hang on 1 second. Right, already there's quite a lot to talk about here, because Trent Alexander-Arnold, for you, prior to Game Week 1, and I can go back and play the Fantasy Weekly episode in which you eulogise about Trent Alexander-Arnold to the point in which I kind of thought, okay, well, Trent will be the only player that Dave keeps in his team for the full 38 game weeks. Here you are, Game Week 2, you've had enough of him. Why? I
know. We'll talk about it. I need the 0.5, mate. I need the money. I need the money.
Unbelievable.
And the stats are totally... Well, to be fair, as long as you have Robertson, then I'm fine with going without Trent. I just would never go without either of them.
Is this even Dave talking?
I know, right? It's wildcard. It's wildcard, baby. Woo!
Yeah, this is madness. Okay, we'll get into it because I've got a lot to say about that.
All right, okay. So I'm going to quickly, before we do wildcard, go to the chat and have a wee read. Son strikes again. When you don't have him, he bangs. When you have him, he does nothing. Exactly, Liam. I'm with you. Zaha's actually on 17% now, says Aqua. So that's good. So at least people are kind of savvy to the information. Like I hate that we have a player that is doing well on our Money Where Your Mouth Is team, and he's still not getting picked up. So at least, you know, we're being rewarded for our...
Yeah, what's important to clarify is that if a player starts doing well and they're on our Money in the Mouth Is team, we don't have to take him out when he becomes popular.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, we can keep him in.
We were right. It's almost like
exactly.
a success story, right? Yeah. Elliot Preston says going Trossard as a differential. He's also on my watch list. He was doing really well. Aqua says he had DCL. Richarlison should have squared that chance. No, I know. Richarlison, no, he should have shot. I think he should have definitely scored. Barnes as a differential is also one, although the fixtures aren't great for Leicester. I was looking at him.
Yeah, I looked at him very seriously. Yeah,
he does have good fixtures, like 3 of the next 5. The problem is that after that, like, I could probably take him out, but the fact that Foden is more likely to start now than ever before, because there's still players that are unfit, and City just looks so refreshingly amazing against a difficult fixture like Wolves, knowing that they lost twice to them in previous season. I just think that it was too hard to miss. So let's go to the wild card. This is gonna be great. This is gonna be good.
Excited to see it.
So this is draft number 1.
Bearing in mind the delay, it'll take me a little while to see this.
That's okay. All right. So I'll read it out for the people who are listening. Okay, Martinez and Steer in goals. I've got new Wolves fullback Semedo. I've got James and Robertson with Taylor and Mitchell on the bench. Then I've got Salah, De Bruyne, Podence and Foden in midfield with Anguissa from Fulham on the bench, 4.5. And up top I've got Calvert-Lewin, Jimenez and Jesus for City. So I've gone 3 City, 3... This team is gross. 3 City, 3 Wolves, 2 Liverpool, and a trickle of other teams around it. Right.
Interesting.
Go for it, mate.
Okay, well, obviously the absence of Trent is, for me, the most notable part of this team. That is, I'm shocked and disappointed that you would drop him so readily after, after such an impassioned speech about why he should remain in everyone's teams for the remainder of the season. This is the player, let's not forget, Dave, who you described as the single best value player in Fantasy Premier League only a couple of weeks ago. For me, the question here is, if you're going to go without Trent, but you still want Liverpool coverage, why not save another 0.5 and go for Virgil van Dijk, who, of course, has already scored this season and looks pretty up for it?
Well, the simple reason is that Robertson's stats are very, very similar to Trent's. The only thing that Trent has that Robertson doesn't is direct free kicks. And although, yes, he's amazing at them, for me, 0.5 and similar stats more than makes up for the fact that he doesn't have direct free kicks. He's on the same amount of corners. I actually think he's probably going to be taking more corners. He's already got an assist this season. The reason why I'm not going for Van Dijk is I really don't like centre-backs. And I almost never take them. So, yeah.
Okay.
I don't mind if you go Trent, but for me, like, I wanted the 0.5 because Semedo's 5.5. If he was 5 million, I would go with Trent. But I needed that. Annoyingly, Drunk Dave was playing about with Tinker, and I figured, I'll just let him, because what's the harm? What's going to happen? Well, he took Podence out last night, didn't he? The fucking idiot. So I missed out on 0.1 on Podence, and it's the most annoying thing. However, I did wake up to some debates on Twitter with people talking about Podence potentially losing his place because now that they've got Semedo, Traore's going to be moving up to the wing, which means that Neto / Podence, they're the only people that can really come out for him. So either Podence plays on the left-hand side or Neto, and Podence is more of a bench player. On top of that, they're looking at a second another transfer in that position. I think it's Costa they're looking at bringing in, Wolves. So it means that Podence might even get placed on the bench with Neto. So on a wild card, you really want to look at the longevity. See if before you wild card. Thank you very much for the sub, Dylan Lawson, and also someone else earlier on, and I missed it.
Yeah, you did miss it, yeah.
Because I think you were talking. But thank you so much if you did subscribe. Because it doesn't come up like it used to. It's really... YouTube's a whole new game, baby. People are going to be thinking, what is that noise when I'm recording this for the pod? What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so Podence might lose his place, which actually brings up my next draft, which is actually Traore in there instead. So bringing in Traore, knowing that he's going to have, that wing play alongside Semedo. So that's where my head's at with that.
I mean, I really like Podence. My dad's had him from game week 1. He's a big believer in Podence. My dad does have a weird habit for being right with these things. And Podence is, I don't know, I like to look at him. You would assume that he probably does need to be in that team more often than not, because he's so good. Yeah. He's really, really good. Has Jota gone to Liverpool yet?
Yeah, he's gone. He's
gone, right? Okay, so that strengthens his position for me.
100%. I think that's the only reason people are looking at him now is because Jota left. But my problem is that I don't want to have to then transfer him out later on. That's my problem.
You do get a transfer a week, Dave.
That's true. You know what? You're right. I fucking forgot about that.
Yeah, well, easily done. Easily done.
All right, chat. Oh, sorry. Go on. Chat, I want to know what you guys are thinking. I'm going to read a few of them out, but let me know what you think. Who do you hate in the team? Who do you love in the team? I know that a lot of people are going to be talking about Werner, and we'll discuss him in detail. I feel like we're going to have to go in on Chelsea a little bit in this hour.
Elliot's mentioned Werner. I mean, I think it's kind of the FPL manager's trap, isn't it, to get rid of Werner this week, which is exactly what you're doing.
Well, I didn't have him, so fuck off.
Oh, you didn't have him?
Amazing. No, I had Martial, I remember. So Elliot said, surely you want to start with Werner over Jesus, then easy transfer if he doesn't perform against West Brom. Semedo, a lot of people are liking Semedo. Chelsea versus West Brom United will also do good, says Nerd. Welcome to the chat, Nerd. Aqua, Lacqua, Werner to do a Son next week, I reckon.
Yeah. I kind of feel that as well.
It's all set up, isn't it? Aubameyang and Werner to do amazing.
Did you see Kai Havertz scored a hat-trick last night?
Aye, but I also saw 5 out of 6 of those fucking goals were absolutely defensive errors, and I've never seen a more worse defense. Oh my goodness.
And you can read too much.
They were so good. There was an amazing pass on Mount and a great touch on his right foot to bring himself into a little bit of space and pump the ball across the ground up to Abraham, who actually just let the ball go through his legs and the defenders behind him, and then Kai Havertz gets on the end of it with a nice, easy one-on-one. That was a great goal. That was really, really well done. Everything else was someone stealing the ball off a defender really, really close to the box. It was not great. So,
Dave, let me posit a question to you.
What's happening, Rushy?
What? How do you feel about triple Wolves? Do you think Wolves are a team that you want to triple up on?
Yes.
Okay, so you'd rather triple up on Wolves than triple up on Liverpool, for example?
Yes, because the fixtures are so good. I've never owned Jimenez. He's the most annoying person to not own, I think. See his breakout season and then his subsequent, second season last even post lockdown, he was good. I want him. I want to just be able to just have him there and not touch him. We talked a lot about in pre-season the rules, the 8 simple rules, and one of them was to have a core team. Now, obviously, the wild card, I'm changing my core team up quite a lot, but this team is longevity for me, and Jimenez is someone that I can just leave in there. I wasn't planning on going triple up 100%. I wasn't thinking you know what, when I wild card, I'm going to bring in 3 of them. But I think Podence and potentially even Traore just it's so much value in it's really difficult.
I still think Traore is underpriced, but despite the fact he hasn't really done a huge amount yet. Lucas brings up a good question. That was going to be another question of mine. Leeds attackers, lots of value it seems in Leeds. They've scored 7 goals this season already. Obviously, it could be. We often find with one of the promoted sides, they tend to hit the ground running, and it could be that Leeds is that, and after game week 4 they drop off. But were you tempted to go for some Leeds attackers in this? Do any of your other drafts include Leeds attackers?
I brought in Bamford before his price rise, just because I wanted to see if I could make some money off him. But when looking at I watched the game back. I listened to the manager talk about how basically unsustainable their attack has been recently. They have 7 goals with a very, very low XG. They aren't creating a lot of chances, but they are scoring from ridiculous positions. So for me, that just screams inconsistent, unsustainable, etc., etc. And also, I don't want to jump on a Leeds player right this second and then have to worry about him in 2 game weeks when, oh, you know what, I've probably made a mistake. Most of the picks that I've got here are safe, apart from Foden and Podence. Really. Mm-hmm. So when I show you my next draft, it's basically taking away any unsafe players and thrusting them in.
Carvick's asked a good question about Man United assets. They're obviously a conspicuous absence here. They've had a bad game. 3-1 losing to Palace isn't great, although Palace surprisingly good so far this season.
Yeah.
If Man United find their form, you're going to be in a bit of a sticky situation, Dave.
Is someone smacking their arse like off camera behind you?
That's my girlfriend making dinner.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. It sounds like she's like smashing someo's arse.
Is it that loud?
No, but it's like consistently like it's within 10 seconds of each other. Just.
Yeah, no arse smacking.
No, it's
at
okay.
least not I'm aware of. It could be happening.
She might have someone round. She's like, "Oh, you streaming, are you?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Man United. Did she just say sorry? I'm so glad she did. Don't worry. Like Emma has put the fire alarm off when I've been streaming and stuff, so it's like it's all good. I was only joking. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So the City triple up allows me to not worry about Man United. I feel like if I didn't have the triple up, then I would be thinking about maybe adding a Man United player in there. The problem with having a plethora of teams that we want players from is that I can't have them all. And at least if I double up or triple up on the ones that are doing well or have good fixtures, then it means that I can try and pick players that are going to do well, and that'll offset missing out on Pogba or Bruno or whatever.
Yeah, Pogba's not the one that people are worried about, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I think, to be honest, Dave, if this was me, I would probably, and maybe you're going to do this in your next draft, so we'll have a look. I think for me, my gut instinct is downgrade Jesus to someone much more affordable. We're so spoiled this season in terms of the amount of budget attackers who are doing really, really well. Patrick Bamford, Mitrovic, etc.
Yeah.
That I would probably downgrade Jesus to one of those and use that money to bring in Trent Alexander-Arnold, because I agree with your compelling points made in pre-season, and also upgrade probably Podence to an affordable Man United midfielder like Mason Greenwood, for example. But then I'm effectively just turning your team into my team, which is obviously what anyone does when they're giving advice on wildcards.
It's good advice. So this is the potential team that I was looking at. What was I going to do? Oh, yeah. So I bring him down to Lamptey, who you have in your squad. How are you feeling for his injury? Are you bothered?
It looks relatively minor. I obviously need to check in with Ben, but the word on the street is that even if he's out next game, it's not a long-term thing. I'm quite happy to bench Lamptey for a game if it means keeping him in the long run. He's about to go up in price as well. So I'm just really happy with him. He was great in the first game, even despite losing, obviously, to Chelsea. And then against Newcastle, would have had the clean sheet and was, for the 58 minutes he was on the pitch, man of the match, won the penalty. Just so like a really, really great talent under a manager who tends to nurture young talents. So,
not in a creepy way, like in a good way.
Yeah, not in like the way that some football coaches have been accused of in the last few years.
In the chat, some love for Lamptey. Liam says, if you had to choose between DCL and Jimmy, who would you pick? I think it would be DCL, just from the 1.5 or 1.3 you're saving. Rushy says James might lose his place. I read he isn't Lampard's locked defender. Yes, I know about that. I do know about that. So he is kind of a maybe on the fence. I really wanted a Chelsea player for the West Brom game, and if I wasn't going to go Werner, then I was definitely going to punt on James and then maybe transfer him down later on. So we're looking at my second draft right now, James, and this is basically switching out Jesus for Werner, putting Traore in instead of Podence, and bringing the new Wolves wing-back down to an affordable 4.5 belter.
Right, yeah.
This is the one where I send to people and they're like, I like this. And then if I send the other one, they're like, do you know what I mean? Because I'm not tripling up anymore on anyone.
Yeah, I think this definitely mirrors the more conventional template at the moment. I think most people are more comfortable with the idea of Werner in there than Jesus, so I can appreciate that. And obviously Semedo's great, but he is somewhat of a punt. We never know how these players are going to adapt to the Premier League. He's got a great reputation. He's coming from Barcelona, but I'm generally quite conservative when it comes to new arrivals to the Premier League.
Oh yeah, me too, 100%. I think. Sorry, go for it.
No, I was going to say Lamptey's obviously kind of proven himself in these first 2 game weeks. I think the other thing is, Dave, is that you've actually gotten off to a good start. Like being in the top 500,000 or near the top 500,000 is being in the top 10% of current managers. So there's no need for you to be too differential at this point. I guess I do kind of feel as though the first draft is a little bit too. It's almost like it's game week 25, and you need to make up some ground, and you don't. Like you can play it safe because as long as Werner bangs, and the players in front of me here are consistent, and they're De Bruyne's in there. Like these guys are going to perform well, and they will see you just kind of steady.
The only problem with this team that you're looking at right now is I am 0.1 away.
Oh shit! Okay. Well,
so I can only do it if Werner drops, which I know that Rushy just said. Yeah.
Minus 95, so he'll drop.
The thing that's bugging me, and I was listening to FPL Black Box. If anyone in the chat hasn't listened to that, it's amazing. It's got Mark Southern's as well. The Dawn. And did you just say rubbish?
Fantasy Weekly. That's the only podcast you need.
Oh yeah, but these guys have actual good players on them, right? So yeah, Black Box, and they had Luke on, or Disable, from Scout as well, and he was talking about the same thing that I've been going through, which is I always kick myself when someone gets injured in the City striker position and I don't get the other one. I always kick myself because I always think I have to go get Jesus if Aguero's injured, or vice versa. Like I need to go grab them, and I feel like if we were in the situation where Jesus was injured and it was just Aguero able to play there, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Exactly what Mark Sutherland said. Like I would put him in there and everyone would be like, yeah, good job. But because it's Jesus, I think it's such a different chat.
It is different though, but it's not only different because it's Jesus. It's different because one, Aguero is a better striker than Jesus, and two, Aguero would probably be on penalties. So that those are two really compelling reasons to opt for Aguero over Jesus. I do know what Mark means, but I do feel like Jesus is a very different player, one that can very easily participate in a 6-0 win and not really pick up much.
Yeah, true. He makes everyone else play better, I feel like.
Exactly, and what would the narrative be if he hadn't scored that 95th minute goal? I think it would have been very, very different.
I was kind of annoyed when that happened because I felt like he would have went down in price. Like I was aiming for him. As soon as I found that Aguero was injured before the Wolves game, I was like, I'm probably gonna put him in on my wild card. It's just such an easy position to change out if I don't like it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you feel like there's any chance that Jesus, despite Aguero's injury, won't start some games and they'll go for kind of free, like for example, Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, and Sterling through the middle or something like that?
Yeah, a few people have mentioned that to me on Twitter and the like, but I don't think that I'm too worried about that because on my bench is Taylor for sub for my my first draft that I showed you there. Like the team is set up to be so risk averse that even if I do have risky punts like Foden or whatever, there's someone that is good enough that you could play like Taylor or like Lamptey or whatever. I don't have any problem playing with them because I've put in a plethora of 4.5s ready to go. Even Justin, if I decide to keep him, so I'm not too worried about that because I've got contingencies. Where are we off to?
Sorry, I'm just getting another beer from the fridge.
Amazing. Right, I'm gonna show. I want to talk about Chelsea for a little bit because we've got loads of Werners in. Rushy, wait, hold on, who was it? It was Rushy. Rushy said in the chat, I think Werner is a FOMO pick. That is, I don't really look at players like that anymore. I'm trying to hone my thinking in, simply because I've talked to a lot of big managers who straight up told me during the 8 Simple Rules pods, like, we don't care about ownership until like maybe game week 30 at least. So for me, I'm not worried about missing out if Werner does well. I don't think he's got enough percentage ownership that it would hurt my rank that much if he did do well. But the problem is that it's such a good fixture. That's what's bothering me, because I am a fixtures manager, as you know, and being a fixtures manager, I love a whipping boy. I love captaining against a whipping boy, and that's what's pulling me in.
Another thing I would just say though, and this always happens at the start of the season, whipping boys are usually established quite early, but they don't usually stay whipping boys for 38 game weeks.
Yeah.
There are very, very few teams that are going to concede 2 or 3 goals every single week, and that's not to say that we shouldn't be focusing on players that are facing up against the likes of Fulham and West Brom, but only to say that I feel as though the bubble will burst, and the more that West Brom are battered, the more stringent they're going to be at the back going forward. So, you know, I just feel as though teams usually learn their lesson in the Premier League. And
tell that to Saints. Tell that to Ings' team.
Yeah, but they do that. I mean, remember Southampton were beaten 9-1 by Leicester last season, and then went on to have quite a respectable record.
True.
I'm just saying a 5-2 defeat against Everton might be the kick up the arse that West Brom need to kind of tighten up a little bit. I'm not necessarily sure it's going to be another 5-2 thrashing from Chelsea.
No, and they had a red card, so let's not put things in too much emphasis on that.
Well, they did score first, didn't they?
I want to show you a fun stat that I noticed. The caveat is that Chelsea were playing Liverpool with 10 men from 45 minutes onwards, but an interesting stat nonetheless. It's on the screen just now. West Brom are the lowest non-penalty XG in the league at 0.67, drawing with Chelsea at 0.67. So for XG non-penalty, they are the lowest, Chelsea.
It was concerning, isn't it? Definitely.
Even if you're playing Liverpool, even if you've got 10 men, that's mental. It shows how much they need that Pulisic, that Ziyech, that Havertz playing in their actual positions at 100% before Werner can do much. I know he looked really good regardless of this stat, but you can't score without creation, and they're not creating anything.
Side note, XGA 4.14 for Chelsea.
Yeah,
ridiculously high when you look at the likes of Newcastle and Burnley, for example, below their 2.74 and 0.99 respectively.
Yeah,
it puts Ramsdale into context, doesn't it? 2.42, not so bad, really, Dave. You did mention that you hate Ramsdale. I assume he's out of your team for good.
It's not that I hated him. It's just that I wanted to see how Sheffield United were gonna play with Ramsdale over Henderson, and when it came to actually watching them, it seemed like their defense was in a bit more of a shambles than I'm used to. It looks like they're trying to emphasize attacking a little bit more this season, and their defense is crumbling a little bit. They just they looked really off the ball. I know that there was a red card against Aston Villa and they played well up until the goal, but it almost seemed like the goal was inevitable, whereas before Sheffield United, I think, just looked a little bit impenetrable. Now Ramsdale couldn't have done anything with the goals that they've conceded. And I know they've only conceded 3 goals in 2 games and with a red card. That's not bad. But for 5 million, I want to be doing better than Ryan or better than McCarthy or Martinez. And right now, Ramsdale is below Ryan and Martinez. So And the simple thing is Martinez versus Ryan is that, if you get Ryan, you can't get Lamptey. Whereas there's no one in the Aston Villa defence that I think I might want in the future. So that's a really easy decision to go Martinez over Ryan.
You can and should buy Lamptey and Ryan together, as I have done, and profit from all of their points.
Yeah, all 3 of them, as Lamptey goes off in the 57th minute. James, have you thought about James, says Liam. James Rodriguez.
Yeah, lots, both in an FPL context and out of an FPL context.
Do tell.
What a handsome man. I really like James. To be honest with you, full disclosure, because I left to go on holiday on the first day of the season and came back from holiday on Sunday evening, so basically after game week 2 had already concluded.
Yeah,
I haven't watched any games. What I've heard is that James Rodriguez, for that 7.5 million and surrounding bracket, is the best value player in the game as far as the look of him goes. But one thing that I think it should be borne in mind is that this is a team that were playing 10 men for the majority of their game week 2 fixture. Obviously scored 5 goals. I think any creative midfielder in a match where 5 goals are scored is going to look pretty good. Apparently he's been afforded a lot of time on the ball. I do wonder whether he will be as effective once teams kind of figure Everton out a little bit more. So whilst I'm interested in him, he's definitely on the watch list. I don't have any urgency to bring him in.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, although I did watch all the games. The thing with Rodriguez was that they haven't played anyone who looks up for it yet. West Brom, whipping boys. Tottenham looked horrible in game week 1. It's difficult for us to assess just how good Everton are going to be. It's obvious that they're doing much better. It's obvious that you kind of want to have a piece of it, and it's too obvious that Calvert-Lewin is value enough that, you know, everyone's probably going to get him, and that's fine. I don't mind having him just sitting there, because he's cheaper than every, you know, Jimenez, Ings, whatever you want. The only problem with him now is that he's kind of risen in price. However, with Rodriguez, I can get Foden for $1 million cheaper. And Foden is going to play at least another couple of game weeks before, you know, we've got to worry about European Cup and all the rest of it. So I think there's never a better time to get Foden than now, especially considering Ndidi is out injured, so that means Leicester's now a good fixture. Then they've got Leeds, and Leeds just seem like the leakiest team ever. Like, I love captaining players against teams that are attacking into my captain. That seems amazing. A no-brainer. It's why I captained Salah at the start of the season. It's why Mitrovic was a good captain game week 2, because Leeds are just we are gonna score more goals than you, and I love that. So I want it all in on City for at least a little bit. Then they play Arsenal game week 5. It's not the best, but it's okay. And then West Ham, who are also really rubbish in defence. If Kevin De Bruyne keeps playing in the position that he was and at the pace that he was against Wolves, then I want as many City players as possible to capitalise on this good form. Which means that James Rodriguez has to unfortunately leave the team.
And if there's one thing that we know about James Rodriguez, and I wonder how much this is playing into people, the FPL manager's psyche, is that my memories of James Rodriguez are that he was phenomenal for Colombia in the 2014 Wildcard.
Yeah.
He was then picked up by Real Madrid and basically didn't do that much. It was kind of a bit of disappointment. I'm worried that he's a confidence player, as a lot of players are, but one that might be prone to inconsistency. So I don't know. That might be playing on my mind a little bit.
It does. He did look really well. You didn't watch the games. I'm telling you, he was amazing. He was so good. He was so good.
I've heard. He's obviously
the deal.
He's world class.
And also, he's played with Ancelotti in his all 3 of his last teams. He played for them. Yeah. I think the only team that Ancelotti didn't manage him in was Napoli, and that was because James was still at Real Madrid. Like, you're not going to go there. However, for me, Everton's fixtures, I'm going to show you them on the screen, actually. On the screen just now, I've put Rodriguez in my team just to show you what I could potentially do. But it means leaving Jesus out for Ings at 8.4. And then I can upgrade Foden to Rodriguez. But then right there, I've got to make a decision between a Wolves midfielder and a City midfielder. And I want them both over an Everton midfielder. What do you think about that? I'm with you. I would just say that, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I actually feel as though when it comes to Everton, Crystal Palace is a great test for them. I think, as you said, Dave, they played 2 teams. Like Spurs just didn't turn up game week 1. Game week 2 is obviously West Brom. They're down to 10 men pretty early on. I think Crystal Palace, I didn't think I'd be saying this at the start of the season, but Crystal Palace
are actually going to be their most resilient tests so far, especially at home at Selhurst Park. So, I think if Everton perform well there, the narrative around them will completely change. Yeah. I just have this niggling feeling that whenever a season gets underway, if someone was recording like an Anne Frank's Diary-esque account of without the subsequent capture and death. Yeah. If someone was recording an Anne Frank's Diary-esque account of FPL sentiment every season, we would look back to the first few game weeks and laugh. Yeah. Remember when Huddersfield went on that incredible run before they got relegated in the first few game weeks? Yep. I just wonder whether Everton's one of those. Whereas, by the time we get to game week 20, we look back and go, God, do you remember when Everton were good and everyone was jumping on James Rodriguez? I don't know. I kind of have that niggling in my head a little bit.
And my problem with Everton is that they looked really good in certain points of seasons past. They're kind of like a sleeping giant. And then finally they've bought some actual good midfielders. Like the last person they bought before Ancelotti came was the fucking City guy. That no one, Delph, that's his name. Like that is the worst signing ever. But they've got Doucouré, who looked probably Watford's best player of the year, other than their goal scorers. Then you've got James Rodriguez, who's obvious quality. And if he actually gets time on the ball, then of course he's going to do something with it. And they also bought Allen, who is like a football manager extraordinaire. Like I've never had a proper long season in a football manager save in the last 4 football managers without at least buying Allen once. So
I'm pretty sure that's on top of Alan's CV.
I think it is. Probably football Dave just keeps hiring me. yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So my problem with the Everton will they digress is that I don't think their players are just too good. However, I think that the numbers are a little bit exaggerated. That I don't need 2 Everton players. I would rather have 2 attacking Wolves or 2 attacking City.
Although, to be fair to Everton, one thing I would just say, there's some great points in the chat that we should get to in a second, but one thing that I would just say is that of the teams that are scoring a lot of goals, we look at Leeds, for example, Everton actually do kind of have the XG to back it up. DCL, highest XG in the league at the moment. So, fair play to them. They're obviously creating high-quality chances. Richarlison could have had one as well.
Yeah. Go for a striker. And
definitely worth looking at.
Everton's fixtures are Crystal Palace, like we've said, is a difficult one. Brighton, who kind of got their act together a little bit, similar to Crystal Palace. Then they've got Liverpool, which is a derby, which we can't really go anywhere near. So the only time I would really want to go all in after the 3 game weeks, if they still look good, is game week 6. So I've got lots of time to deal with it.
That's kind of nice, isn't it? I'm quite happy to wait until then and just kind of see how they get on, because it's so important to stress that the form in the first 3 game weeks can change so rapidly. And I've been burnt from it so many times, wildcarding after the first international break. Yeah. And all of a sudden, things completely change. So I'm content to wait a little bit longer this time.
Fair play.
Karthik, are we ignoring Che Adams given the shots in the box? Che Adams, a great example of a player who on another, in a parallel universe, could have a hat-trick.
Yeah.
And
the new DCL.
We'd be talking about him instead. He has looked very, very good, Dave. What do you reckon? Maybe downgrade that Jesus and bring in Che Adams?
No. I'm not going to go with anyone from Southampton unless it's Ings. I think if a team is playing poorly, then I want their talisman or nothing. Like, I want Mitrovic, I want Ings, especially if Ings is on penalties. Like, penalties seem like it's going to be such a big point this season, so I don't want to do anything with shite teams like Southampton unless I'm going for their penalty taker or their talisman. So that includes Vardy, Ings, Mitrovic, Klitsch from Leeds if I was going to go from someone there. Like, I don't want to mess with teams that are out of form and don't have good fixtures. And for me, Southampton don't have great fixtures enough for me to even consider them. And on top of that, Che Adams is not their talisman. So yeah, it's not happening.
Not yet, my friend, not yet.
Well, I don't mind, because see, that's the thing. Jesus is there. He's probably going to be the first to go if I do want to downgrade, so I can upgrade somewhere else. And until that time, I've got maybe 2-3 game weeks where City are going to be balling. All right, everyone in the chat, we're going to be doing a quick fire question round just now. If you guys have any questions or think I should be looking at anyone for a wild card, hit us up now. And in the meantime, while you guys get your questions in, and don't worry, we'll go back and read them all. Let's have a look at our Money Where Your Mouth is team, James.
Yeah, good idea.
All right, here it is. We scored 69 points. Game week 2. We didn't have Salah game week 1, right? So keep that in mind. We are 2.4 millionth in the league in the world just now, which is quite healthy, I think.
It's good.
We've hit over 100 points. We had a very good game week this week. Alisson got the penalty, kept his clean sheet. Castagni from Leicester got, I think he got an assist and a clean sheet in there.
Two assists, I think, but no clean sheet.
Oh, that's what it was. You're right.
Yeah.
Webster getting the Brighton 60 plus minutes. Unlucky Lamptey. We also only played 10 men because look, Mahrez didn't start. Gomez was injured. Cancelo's injured, and Wan-Bissaka didn't start as well or come on. So considering that, we had a belter. Zaha's in there. He got something.
Did very well.
Almiron didn't do much this game week, but last game we got 4 points. That's fine. Lucas Moura is probably someone that we could look to doing something. Rodriguez hasn't really managed to start in the squad yet. Lacazette, our captain, getting 14 points. What a wee belter. And Firmino getting an assist on a Mane header. What do you think?
Yeah, really nice. No, really good. I think Rodrigo's the biggest concern for me. I believe in Almiron. I know I kind of fought his cause to get him in the team. And
he's done fine. He's got a return in the first game.
He's played, unlike Ryan Fraser. So I'm happy with that. But I'm confident Almiron will come good. Rodrigo's the biggest concern for me here. I feel like Lucas Moura's his time is numbered now that Bale has returned to the fold. So transfers are going to be needed. Let's put it that way. Money's going to have to be spent here. Yeah. Real money and virtual FPL money are going to have to be spent. Let's hope Wan-Bissaka comes back soon because we need players.
I know. All right, just for everyone in the chat that is listening that don't know about it, our Money Where Your Mouth Is team is basically where we transfer in anyone that we think that no one is talking about. So we're not allowed players that have high ownership or that people are looking at like Shea Adams, even if they do have low ownership. If we're talking about them in normal chat for FPL, then they do not fit in our team. If we have to transfer anyone out of this team, it costs James £5, and he puts that towards the winner prize for our league, which is TM3AUE. That is the code for our league for Firing Blanks. You can find that, and I'm just going to leave that open all season, I think, potentially. And actually, you know what? That's probably shite. I just realised like first place could jump in and win. No. I'm going to close that, I don't know, game week 10. So be in between now and then. James, you've just said there, Rodrigo, Lucas Moura out. We have Ward-Prowse as well.
I don't want to take him out. I don't want to take him out.
No?
I don't want to spend money yet.
Are you happy with this team just now? You don't want to make any transfers?
I mean, I tell you what, Dave, they're in the top third of the overall rankings, which is remarkable for a team with differentials. Zaha's obviously kind of carrying us a little bit, but Lacazette's looking great.
We have 4 million in the bank as well. We have so much money.
Rodrigo is a player who I feel as though if he can find his feet a little bit, he's in a very attacking side. They've already scored 7 goals. I want to give him more time. I think with any of these players, we ought to be giving them 3 or 4 game weeks at least before we consider bringing him. Lucas Moura, obviously, he's a worry, but again, he started and completed both games so far, which is not something we would have necessarily put our money on at the start of the season. So
can I mention a player for your consideration instead of Ward-Prowse? Because I don't really feel like giving him 4 game weeks. Although you know what, you are going to be the buck stops with you. So Traore, no one is talking about right now. The only reason we talked about him is because I've been looking at differential for my team. He is playing as wing back. No one's really talking about him. I feel like he might be fun to have in there.
That's interesting.
Because it's Jimenez, Podence, Sace, Samido, the new guy. Even Patricio, I've seen in a few teams knocking about. No one has Traore.
I'll tell you what, though. Let me do this deal. Okay. Next fixtures.
Oh shit! Never mind. He's 16% owned.
Traore is highly owned, but also Wolves versus West Ham could well be postponed given the COVID outbreak at West Ham. I don't think it will be. But there's the chance that it could be.
Okay.
And with Southampton playing Burnley and then West Brom, I feel as though Ward-Prowse deserves those 2 fixtures.
Okay. Fair play.
Chelsea away, that's when I think we can discuss getting rid of Ward-Prowse. But I think he deserves until game week 5.
Last thing then I want to mention for this team is Cancelo and Gomez are injured. Gomez should be back maybe next or the game week after that. We've got a bench, so it's fine. We can leave that. But Cancelo's injured until like game week 6 or something. 17th of October, yeah, game week 5. So he's going to miss out on Leicester, Leeds. He might not even be back for Arsenal. They might wait until, West Ham. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And he's got a tough run from game week 7, hasn't he? Look at that. Sheffield.
Yeah.
Scotland, yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's get rid of it.
Yeah, we're spending money, chat. All right, who we bring in? Who do we bring in? Shall we do the chat questions real quick? And then when they catch up, they can tell us who they're coming in. Shall we do that?
Sure,
We'll jump back. Okay, so are we ignoring like double born last season? Blah 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 blah. Imagine those tripled up. Where are the questions? Liam has a non-FPL question. He says, "What do you think of the government delaying the return of fans?"
Yes, sensible. I replied in the chat.
Oh yeah, so you did.
Sensible, and I'm happy to stick with that. Yeah, I think it's sensible, isn't it? I mean, every other aspect of life is being stripped back a little bit, so I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I prefer people to live, so I'm with you.
Choose life.
Daft says Nelson Semedo versus Castagni. It's basically fixtures and form, isn't it? Leicester don't look great defensively and they've got rubbish fixtures. Wolves have a history of being decent in defence and have great fixtures.
I mean, Dave did choose him in his wildcard team, so bear that in mind.
Yeah. Aqua says in the first draft, if you do want a fullback and Wolves defender, I'd say Markle versus Semedo or over Semedo and use that 0.5 for TAA instead of Robertson. The only problem is that I think he's a little bit injured now, Markle or Marcel or however you say him. So that is a bit of a worry. But I did think of that. The only thing is that I know that Wolves' right-hand side is their attacking side. I know they can score from the left, I'm not saying that, but if you look at Jimenez's numbers, the amount of goals that he scores from right-hand side crosses is unbelievable.
Yeah. And Doherty is the example of that, isn't he? I mean, his prolificness was due to that fact.
So I think I want the Doherty replacement over. So if I was going to go for a wing back, I think I would still need to choose that. I'd rather have Robertson and Semedo over Marcel and TAA at that point. Hetty Horseman says Werner, Salah, KDB, or Son for captain this week. Everyone's kind of talking about captaincies. I wasn't really going to go into it, but who are you captaining this week?
KDB when I bring him in.
100%. Because KDB is he's a get out of jail free. Like, if in doubt, just captain him. Always captain him. It's so easy. Yeah. If you think, oh, should I do Werner or KDB, then you've already, like, the decision's already KDB for me. If I have to hum and haw, unless I'm 100% sure I'm not going to go to KDB, I'm probably going to pick him, especially if he plays as a number 10 like last time.
Son, very tempting. I'm just happy to own Son, though. I'm not too worried about captaining him. I feel like KDB's the one. Yeah.
Rubber Ducky says Asby, ? I think we covered it a little bit. I know James and Azpilicueta are going to be fighting on that side, although I have talked to some Chelsea supporters and also I'm pretty sure FPL Wire we're talking about a little bit, and they're safely assuming James is going to start for at least another couple of games. Thoughts on Digne? We talked a little bit about it on Fancy Weekly, and I got a source for Everton that says that he would be on penalties if it wasn't James Rodriguez.
I tell you what, I know he's been asked about, which maybe contravenes the rules, but I would say he's a candidate to replace Cancelo.
What do you think? So?
I don't feel like anyone's talking about him at the moment.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's a bit much. Dean.
Okay.
I think he's in a lot of teams.
To be fair, Das has also asked about Digne, so actually I'm totally wrong.
Dean was
Das captained him last week, which is madness, but fair enough.
Daft's always captained silly captain, so to be fair, he's a belter.
I love that.
Costa for Mora, says Rushy. That is a consideration as well.
Helder Costa looks good. I'm looking at Click. Is it Click? Klitschko from Leeds as well. I think he looks good.
Rushy says Aqua says punt on a City defender. I don't think that's a good idea, because they just chop and change. Laporte's not back yet, so the defense isn't going to be 100% regardless of who they pick. I know Mendy's in now because Cancelo's out, but do you want that headache of having to take Mendy out when there's better players for a bit cheaper in there? What do you think?
I'd consider Ake.
Yeah, you think he's going to start constant?
Yeah, not necessarily constantly, but I feel as though he I mean, we say this about all City players, and they very seldom do start consistently. But I feel like he was bought for a reason. They needed a strong central defender. I feel like he hasn't done anything yet to prove he's not that. So
yeah,
I don't mind Ake necessarily. No one's talking about him either. So potentially a like for like switch with Cancelo.
True, and I do think that he was getting a bit frustrated with Stones, which is why he bought Ake in the first place. And I know that is it Fernandinho? No, who is it that they usually play centre back, even though he's not a centre back? Fernandinho. Is it? So I think that he I think
he's gone now. I think he's elderly now.
Yeah, so I think that's why Ake got the starts that he has. FPL Rubber Ducky says nobody's talking about Mount. That's because he's kind of a ticking time bomb a little bit. Like he's gonna go. He's gonna go off the starting 11 as soon as other people are 100% fit. He's prime for the bench, I'm afraid. Jimenez cap considering Diop tested positive, said Ennis. That is very interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I just am gonna stick to my general philosophy on this, which is that it's too early in the season for differential captaincy choices. Yeah, don't get too excited. I know a great game week is going to propel you up the leagues, but it's not a sustainable approach.
I 100% agree. Robert Ducky says, what is Grealish's ownership? It is 9.8. Too much for us. Liam has came back at us with the, but you can sit in a pub for 10 hours, but you can't sit in a football ground when you are outside. All right, working in events. Here it comes, Liam. In a pub, it is tiny. You can control in and out. If there's a fire alarm, you can probably get people out safely and without having to rush people in and squidge them in together. That is the main thing, is fire alarms. If the fire alarm goes off during a football game, everyone's going to pack into the exits and it's impossible to safely distance, to stop anyone sneezing on you, etc., etc. On top of that, pubs are easily, partitioned, whereas you can't really do that in a football game unless you halve the amount of people going in. And then at the same time, if you do that, what's to stop the fire alarm situation like I talked about? So yeah, it's literally impossible. You cannot stop people from touching each other. That's why there's no events happening anywhere, no gigs, no poetry slams, nothing. So I'm so sorry, James, you won't be able to make your poetry slam for a long time.
I've got 3 minutes, by the way, Dave.
Yeah, no worries. All right, so blah, 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 a lot of repeated questions. I think we're going to leave the questions there and finally make this decision, then you can go. Who are we taking out for Cancelo? If you have any players that you're thinking about in the chat, then shout them out now.
Please do.
Yeah,
please
right,
do.
James,
Because I'm drawing a little bit of a blank. I mean, I like the idea of having some Man City representation in our back line. Mm-hmm. Because last season they had the best stats for XGA. I feel as though they are generally a very resilient side because of the possession that they enjoy. Yeah. So whilst they don't necessarily have, like, in terms of personnel, the best back line, I feel as though they're not going to concede that many goals. So I would err towards a Man City defender because no one's really talking about them. Which is obviously great for the money we mouth this team.
We could put Mendy in like a like you said. He's only 1.9% owned. Literally no one.
Yeah. No,
we could do that.
No one's really talking about him, are they?
The problem is we're probably going to have to take him out if he stops playing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I don't know who his main centre backs are yet between Ake and Stone. So if it is going to be a punt, we might as well go for someone who doesn't have competition right now due to injury. If that's what you're going for. Other defensive options.
It's going to have to be David Luiz.
I was about to say you could go an Arsenal one that no one's talking about. Like, we have Gomez in the squad. It's a similar thing to the Van Dijk, right?
I mean, I really like David Luiz.
No, you
Can I just
don't. Don't say
No, I
that,
do.
mate.
I would say he's one of the best centre-backs in the league.
Oh, you just take the piss and it's going to annoy me. It's going to annoy me. Might as well just put Zuma in the squad.
Why not?
What about Coleman? No one wants Coleman because Coleman's really old. But he's played 90 minutes twice.
Yeah.
Again, 1.9% owned. That would be your Dean equivalent.
Yeah. All right. I'm happy to put my money where my mouth is there, where your mouth is, Dave.
Well, I'm just looking because I've not really got one. Mina with 1.6, Jimmy Dunn from Burnley. Oh yeah, 4.0. He's in there. Well, Ben Mee's out.
He's been talked about a lot though because he's 4.0.
Yeah, fair play.
We don't need budget. That's the thing. I mean, we've got all the money to spend in the world, so budget is one thing we don't need to worry about. I feel as though Coleman. I would be happy with Coleman. I would also take Mendy or Ake. Kyle Walker, what's he saying?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in ages, but hold on. Let me have a look at his stats. Daft says James's dream back line of David Luiz and Aurier. We could put Aurier in. Do you want to do that?
No,
I didn't think so. It's weird that the best attacking fullback in the league has been instantly replaced by a new signing. That's so strange.
Yeah, a new signing who's doing a lot less than Aurier would be doing in that position.
Walker didn't play game week 1, so he's out.
Okay. Well, he didn't play game week 1 because no Man City players played in game week 1 day.
There you go, mate. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
Yeah, Walker played 90 minutes game week 2. Got the 2 points. Yeah, it seems like he's going to play often enough.
Yeah. Kyle Walker. Final answer.
Yeah, £5 for Kyle Walker.
Bring him in. I mean, what a player. Still,
you don't get points for...
huge amount of competition there. Probably.
Say that again?
Cancelo, is he competition?
Yeah, no, I think he plays on the other side. It's Walker and then...
Who else?
I don't know, actually.
Exactly.
Zinchenko? All right. He's in. Making the transfer. Confirmed transfer. All right, so that means we now have 100% confirmation that we have money in our league to give away for first prize. I'm something like 20th in there, but James is 5th. So there is competition, and you can't win it, mate. But if you do win it... I'm
going to break even in this league in my head by winning it.
Amazing. All right, everyone, that is it from us. Thank you very much for joining us. We are going to be streaming at least once a week, so we'll see you next week. If you guys have any other questions you want to get in touch with us, you're at Tongue and Loftus. I'm at FPL Dave, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye. Are we done? Can we talk?
Kind of.
Can I slag everyone off yet? Good one.
All right. That's us off. Thanks, everyone in the chat.